The alarm clock blinked 6:47 a.m., 2 minutes late. Nathan's gut twisted. Olivia always knocked at 6:45. Something was wrong. He pulled back his Star Wars comforter and padded across the cold hardwood floor to his bedroom door. The house was silent, except for the gentle hum of the heating system kicking on. No familiar tap, tap, tap of his sister's knuckles against his door. No sound of her shuffling down the hallway in her fuzzy lion slippers that she refused to throw away, even though she'd long outgrown them. "Liv?" Nathan called out softly, not wanting to wake their mom who worked late shifts at the hospital. The silence that answered back made his skin prickle. He crept down the hallway to his sister's room, passing the family photos that lined the walls, memories of happier times before Dad left, when their family still felt whole. The door, to Olivia's room, was slightly ajar, unusual for his privacy-obsessed sister, who typically kept it firmly shut. Nathan pushed it open, wincing at the slight creak of the hinges. The morning light, filtering through her lavender curtains, cast strange shadows across her perfectly made bed. Too perfect. Olivia was many things, but a neat freak wasn't one of them. Her bed was usually a mess of tangled sheets and throw pillows. His eyes swept the room, cataloging the little details that felt wrong. Her backpack sat by her desk, looking deflated and empty. The collection of Polaroid photos that usually decorated her mirror had been taken down, leaving behind only sticky residue from the tape. But it was her desk that made his heart skip a beat. The leather-bound journal she wrote in religiously every night, the one she'd threatened to end him if he ever touched, was missing. Nathan walked over to her desk, running his fingers along the smooth wood where the journal should have been. A folded piece of paper caught his attention, tucked partially under her laptop. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it. "Nathan, if you're reading this, I need you to trust me. Don't tell Mom yet. Check your phone at exactly 8:15 a.m., not before. It's important." Three teeth. He checked his watch, 7:03 a.m. The next hour and 12 minutes stretched before him like an eternity. His sister had always been dramatic, but this felt different. The careful precision of her usually messy handwriting, the way she'd cleared out her personal items, the missing journal. It all pointed to something planned, something serious. Nathan got ready for school mechanically, his mind racing through possibilities. Was Olivia in trouble? Running away? Playing some elaborate prank? She'd been quieter lately, spending more time in her room, but he'd chalked it up to typical teenage moodiness. Now he wondered what he'd missed. The kitchen felt empty without Olivia's morning routine. No sound of her humming while making toast, no clinking of her favorite ceramic mug against the counter as she prepared her tea. Their mom's note on the fridge reminded them about dinner in the crock pot, signed with her usual heart. Nathan's stomach churned with guilt at keeping this secret from her. He grabbed a granola bar he knew he wouldn't eat and headed for the bus stop, Olivia's note burning a hole in his pocket. The morning was unusually cold for September, and a heavy fog had settled over their suburban neighborhood, making familiar houses look strange and distorted. Or maybe everything just looked different now that his world had tilted on its axis. Seeker, bus ride to school was torture. Nathan kept checking his phone, willing time to move faster. His best friend Marcus tried to engage him in their usual morning debate about superhero movies, but Nathan could barely focus enough to string together coherent responses. As he walked through the school's main entrance, Nathan realized something else was off. Olivia's bright yellow car wasn't in its usual spot in the senior parking lot. She'd saved up for 2 years to buy that used Volkswagen Beetle, working weekends at the local bookstore. She loved that car like it was her child. Why would she leave it behind? The first period bell rang, and Nathan slid into his seat in biology, his leg bouncing with nervous energy. The clock on the wall seemed to mock him with its slow progression. 8:12 a.m. 3 more minutes. His phone felt heavy in his pocket. When the digits finally changed to 8:15, Nathan's hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped his phone as he pulled it out under his desk. One new message from an unknown number. His heart pounding, he opened it. The single word made his blood run cold. Help. Nathan stared at his phone until the screen went dark, that single word burning into his retinas. Help. From an unknown number. But he knew it was Olivia. It had to be. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, trying to decide how to respond. Before he could type anything, another message appeared. Don't reply. Don't tell anyone. Wait for more instructions. Mr. Peterson's voice droned on about cellular mitosis, but Nathan's mind was 3 weeks in the past, desperately trying to pinpoint when things had started changing with his sister. The signs had been there, he realized now, like puzzle pieces he'd failed to put together. It had started with dinner. Olivia, who usually inhaled their mom's cooking and asked for seconds, had begun pushing food around her plate, claiming she'd eaten a big lunch or wasn't feeling well. She'd lost weight, not dramatically enough to raise alarms, but enough that their mom had mentioned it during one of their rare family breakfasts. I'm fine, Olivia had snapped, an edge to her voice that made both Nathan and their mom flinch. Can everyone stop analyzing everything I do? Then there were the phone calls. Late at night, Nathan would hear her voice through their shared wall, speaking in whispers so quiet he couldn't make out the words. Once, he'd gotten up to get water and seen the blue glow of her phone screen through the crack under her door at 3 a.m. When he'd asked her about it the next morning, she'd given him a look that could freeze hell. Mind your own business, twerp, she'd said, but without the usual affection behind the nickname. Her hands had been shaking as she poured her coffee. The bathroom incident had been the worst. Nathan had been working on homework in his room when he heard it, the muffled sound of sobbing coming from the hall bathroom. He'd approached the door, raised his hand to knock, then stopped. Through the door, he could hear Olivia's voice, barely a whisper. I can't do this anymore. Please, I can't. He'd backed away, telling himself it was probably just stress about college applications or her breakup with Jason last month. But the memory of her voice, so broken and afraid, had haunted him. Their mom had noticed too, in the brief moments she was home between hospital shifts. Maybe we should look into therapy, she'd suggested one morning after Olivia had stormed out without eating breakfast. She hasn't been herself lately. It's just teenage mood swings, their Aunt Linda had declared during Sunday dinner. My God, you should have seen me at 17. Drama, drama, drama. She'll grow out of it. But it wasn't just mood swings. Olivia's whole personality had shifted, like someone had slowly dimmed her bright light. The sister, who used to blast Taylor, swift and dance around her room while getting ready for school, now moved silently through the house like a ghost. Her art supplies gathered dust. She hadn't touched her sketchbook in weeks. Even her beloved yellow beetle sat unwashed, accumulating bird droppings and fallen leaves. Last week, Nathan had gone into her room to borrow a charger. As he'd reached behind her desk, his hand had brushed against something stuck to the bottom of her drawer. A folded piece of paper, crumpled and worn like it had been handled many times. The handwriting wasn't Olivia's flowing script, but sharp, angular letters that made his skin crawl. You don't belong here. Stop trying to fix what can't be fixed. He'd almost confronted her about it then, but something in her expression, when she'd caught him in her room, had stopped him. Fear. Raw, unfiltered fear, quickly masked by anger, as she'd shoved him out the door. The bell jolted Nathan back to the present. As he gathered his books, his phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. Bathroom. Second floor. Now. Nathan's heart hammered against his ribs as he made his way through the crowded hallway. The second-floor bathroom was in the old wing of the school, rarely used since the renovation last year. His footsteps echoed against the faded linoleum as he approached the door marked "Out of Order." Inside, the fluorescent lights flickered eerily, casting strange shadows across the cracked tiles. A folded piece of paper was taped to the mirror, his name written in Olivia's handwriting. His hands trembled as he unfolded it. Inside was a small key taped to the paper, along with more instructions. Storage Unit 247. Oakwood Self-Storage. The truth is there, but Nathan, if you go, you can't tell anyone. They're watching, and they'll hurt Mom if you do. The bell rang for second period, but Nathan barely heard it. His sister was in trouble. Real trouble. And whatever was in that storage unit might be his only chance to save her. He pulled out his phone, finger hovering over their mom's contact. Olivia's warning echoed in his mind. They'll hurt Mom. The weight of the key felt like lead in his pocket as he made a decision that would change everything. Nathan turned toward the main entrance, his heart racing. He had no car, no real plan, and no idea what he was walking into. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. His sister needed him, and he wasn't going to let her down. As he pushed through the heavy doors into the morning air, a text from another unknown number made his blood run cold. I see you, Nathan. Are you sure you want to play this game? The Uber driver gave Nathan a suspicious look, probably wondering why a teenager was heading to a storage facility on a school day, but didn't ask questions. Nathan spent the 15-minute ride, checking his phone obsessively, torn between hope and dread each time a new message appeared. Most were from the school's automated system, noting his unexpected absence. One was from Marcus. Dude, where are you? Everything okay? Oakwood Self-Storage loomed ahead, a maze of identical metal buildings stretching into the distance. The key felt impossibly heavy in Nathan's pocket as he walked past row after row of numbered units. 225, 246, 247. His hands shook as he fitted the key into the lock. The metal door groaned as he pulled it up, revealing a space about the size of a small bedroom. At first glance, it looked empty, except for a few cardboard boxes pushed against the back wall. But as Nathan's eyes adjusted to the dim light, he noticed something odd. A laptop sitting on one of the boxes, its power light blinking steadily. Next to the laptop was Olivia's missing journal, along with a stack of papers and what looked like printed screenshots. Nathan's heart thundered in his chest as he picked up the journal. This was an invasion of privacy that Olivia would normally never forgive. But nothing was normal anymore. The first few pages were typical teenage stuff. Complaints about teachers, drama with friends, song lyrics she liked. But about 2 months ago, the tone changed dramatically. Nathan's blood ran cold as he read. They found me again. I thought I could start fresh here, be normal, have a real life. But they won't let me forget. They say they'll expose everything if I don't do what they want. Mom and Nathan would never look at me the same if they knew the truth. Nathan flipped through the pages faster, his hands trembling. Another email today. They have pictures from before. They say they'll send them to everyone at school. I can't let that happen. I can't go through that again. List of reasons why I should disappear. Everyone would be safer. Mom wouldn't have to worry anymore. Nathan, could have a normal life without my mess. The truth would stay buried where it belongs. Maybe they'd finally leave me alone. The stack of papers next to the journal told the rest of the story. Screenshots of messages from anonymous accounts, each more threatening than the last. Pictures of Olivia at school, at work, even walking to her car. Someone had been stalking her. But it was the email printouts that made Nathan's stomach lurch. They were from something called Project Rebirth, dated 3 years ago. The same time Olivia had suddenly come to live with them after their cousin's tragic accident. Except, Nathan stared at the documents, his world tilting on its axis. According to these papers, Olivia wasn't their cousin at all. She was a former member of a cult that specialized in targeting troubled teens. Project Rebirth promised them a new life, a new identity, a chance to start over. But it was all a lie. They used the teens for illegal activities, threatened them with exposure if they tried to leave. Olivia had been one of the few who escaped, given a new identity through witness protection. The laptop screen suddenly flickered to life, making Nathan jump. A video player opened automatically, showing security camera footage from inside the school. The timestamp was from this morning. Nathan watched in horror as 2 men in maintenance uniforms cornered Olivia in an empty hallway. She didn't struggle. They must have threatened her. They led her through a side door, and she disappeared. A new message popped up on the screen. Now you know. The question is, what are you going to do about it? You have 1 hour to bring us what we want, or you'll never see her again. Nathan's phone buzzed with coordinates and more instructions. Bring all the evidence. Come alone. Remember, if we see any cops, she dies. His mind raced through options. He could call the police, but would they believe him? Would they be able to find Olivia in time? He could tell their mom, but the threat against her was still active. Or he could do what they wanted. Destroy the evidence. Let them continue their operation. Maybe get Olivia back safely. The right choice seemed impossible to determine. Every option led to potential disaster. Nathan looked at the journal again, at Olivia's desperate words, at the evidence of how long she'd carried this burden alone. She'd tried to protect them all, and now she needed him to protect her. His phone buzzed again. 45 minutes left. Tick-tock. Nathan's hands stopped shaking as clarity washed over him. He knew what he had to do. It was risky, probably stupid, definitely dangerous, but it was the only way to end this for good. He pulled out his phone and dialed, not 911, but a different number. Marcus? Remember how your dad's an FBI agent? I need his help, and I need it right now. Marcus's dad moved fast. Within 20 minutes, unmarked vehicles surrounded the abandoned office building where the coordinates had led them. Nathan sat in an FBI surveillance van, his heart in his throat, watching grainy footage from tactical teams as they moved into position. They won't hurt her, Agent Reeves assured him, but Nathan could hear the tension in his voice. We've been tracking Project Rebirth for months. Your sister's testimony could help us shut them down for good. Nathan's phone buzzed. Their mom. The school called. Where are you? Call me right now. His thumb hovered over the screen, but he couldn't answer. Not yet. Not until Olivia was safe. The next 30 minutes passed in a blur of radio chatter and controlled chaos. When the tactical team finally breached the building, Nathan held his breath. The cameras showed them clearing room after room until target secured. 2 suspects in custody. We have the girl. Nathan was out of the van before anyone could stop him, running toward the building. 2 men in maintenance uniforms were being led out in handcuffs, their faces twisted with rage. And behind them, supported by a female agent, was Olivia. She looked small, vulnerable in a way Nathan had never seen before. When she spotted him, her face crumpled. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no. You weren't supposed to know. None of you were ever supposed to know. Liv." Nathan reached for her, but she jerked away. "You had no right," she screamed, tears streaming down her face. "You read my journal? You went through my things? Do you have any idea what you've done? I was trying to save you. I didn't need saving. I had it under control." Agent Reeves stepped between them. "Miss Thompson, or should I say Miss Foster, you did need saving, and your brother might have just helped us save a lot of other kids, too." Olivia's face went pale. "Foster?" she whispered. "I haven't heard that name in 3 years." She swayed slightly, and this time when Nathan moved to support her, she didn't pull away. The next few hours were a nightmare of questions, statements, and tearful phone calls. Their mom arrived at the FBI field office looking shell-shocked. Her hospital scrubs wrinkled like she'd run out mid-shift. When she saw Olivia, she stopped dead in her tracks. "Mom," Olivia choked out. "I'm so sorry. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not really family." Their mom crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled Olivia into her arms. "Don't you dare," she said fiercely. "Don't you dare say that. You are my daughter. Nothing will ever change that." As Olivia broke down in their mom's arms, Nathan learned the full story from Agent Reeves. Project Rebirth had started as a legitimate youth rehabilitation program before its founder turned it into a criminal enterprise. They'd exploit troubled teens' desperation for a fresh start, give them new identities, then blackmail them into helping recruit other victims. Olivia had been 15 when they took her. A runaway from an abusive home. "Your cousin Emily's death gave us the perfect opportunity," Agent Reeves explained. "We needed to hide Olivia somewhere safe while we built our case. Your mother was already cleared for foster care. It was supposed to be temporary, but she became family," Nathan finished. "The hardest part came when they had to return to school. Rumors had already spread. It was impossible to keep FBI raids secret in a small town." Olivia walked through the halls with her head high, but Nathan saw how she flinched at the whispers, the stares. "Freak," someone coughed as they passed. Nathan spun around, fists clenched, but Olivia caught his arm. "Don't," she said quietly. "They don't matter." But other reactions surprised them. Jason, Olivia's ex-boyfriend, approached her at lunch. "I don't care who you used to be," he said simply. "I care who you are now." Their Aunt Linda organized a family meeting where, one by one, relatives stood up to reaffirm that Olivia was family, no matter what name she'd been born with. Even their dad called, his first contact in months, to check if they were okay. Late that night, Nathan found Olivia sitting on the roof outside her window, their childhood hiding spot. She didn't look at him as he sat down, but she didn't tell him to leave either. "I wanted to tell you," she said finally, "so many times, but I was scared, not just of them finding me, but of losing this, all of it. You couldn't lose me if you tried," Nathan said, "though you almost did by trying to handle everything alone." Olivia wiped her eyes. "I read what you wrote in my journal, after they took me. Your note saying you'd always be my brother, no matter." "What?" "You weren't supposed to know about that." Nathan mimicked her earlier words, making her laugh despite herself. "I'm still mad you invaded my privacy," she said, but the anger had drained from her voice, leaving only exhaustion. "And terrified about what happens next. The trial, the publicity, everyone knowing." "We'll handle it together," Nathan promised. No more secrets. Olivia leaned her head against his shoulder, like she used to do when they were younger, and she was still getting used to being part of their family. I never thought I'd say this, but thank you for not minding your own business, twerp. Nathan smiled, but his chest felt tight. He'd saved his sister, yes, but he'd also shattered the life she'd built, exposed her deepest secrets, forced her to relive trauma she'd tried to bury. The weight of those consequences would take time to process. As if reading his thoughts, Olivia spoke again. Stop it! I can hear you overthinking from here. You did the right thing. I couldn't see it then, but you freed me. For the first time in 3 years, I can breathe. Below them, their mom's car pulled into the driveway. She'd been working. Shorter shifts, unwilling to be away from them for too long. The porch light clicked on, illuminating their yard where so many of their childhood memories had been made. False memories, some might say, built on a lie. But Nathan knew better now. Family wasn't about blood or birth certificates or even shared history. It was about choice, about love, about fighting for each other, even when it hurt. Come on, he said, standing up. Mom's probably stress baking again. Race you to the kitchen? Olivia grinned, a real smile, the kind he hadn't seen in months. You're on, little brother. As they climbed back through the window, Nathan caught a glimpse of their reflection. Just two normal teenagers racing to get first dibs on cookies. But he knew they'd both been changed forever by the past 24 hours. They were survivors now, secret keepers, truth-tellers, and somehow, impossibly, still family. 3 months later, the kitchen smelled like chocolate chip cookies and possibility. Nathan sat at the counter, watching Olivia measure ingredients with the same intense concentration she used to give her art. She'd started baking therapy, that's what their mom called it, spending hours creating elaborate desserts when anxiety threatened to overwhelm her. The trial was approaching, but they tried not to let it consume their lives. Project Rebirth's leaders had been arrested, their operation dismantled. 17 other teenagers had been identified and offered help. Olivia's testimony would help ensure justice, but for now, they focused on smaller victories, like family, dinner. Every night at 6, no excuses. Their mom had rearranged her hospital schedule, and Nathan had quit the debate team to be home. Sometimes they just sat in comfortable silence, passing dishes and sharing knowing looks. Other times, they talked, really talked, about fears and dreams and the pieces of themselves they used to hide. You're staring again, Olivia said, not looking up from her mixing bowl. Just making sure you don't burn anything, Nathan teased, dodging the dish towel she threw at him. The truth was, he couldn't help watching her these days, cataloging the small changes. The way she'd started wearing her hair down again instead of hiding behind strict ponytails, how she hummed while she worked. Not always happy songs, but music nonetheless. The gradual return of color to her wardrobe, as if she were finally allowing herself to be seen. School had been an adjustment. The original story, that Olivia had helped the FBI catch dangerous criminals, spread quickly, transforming whispered rumors into something closer to reluctant respect. The kids who'd made threatening comments faced suspension, but Olivia hadn't wanted worse punishment. They're not the real enemies, she'd said, and I'm done letting bullies have power over me. Her old friends had struggled with the revelation that they'd never known her real past, but the honest ones stuck around. Jason had asked her to winter formal last week. She'd said no. Not ready for that yet. But she'd smiled when she told Nathan about it. A real smile that reached her eyes. The biggest change was in their mom. She'd thrown herself into learning, everything she could about trauma and recovery, joining support groups for parents of trafficking survivors. "I should have seen the signs," she'd cry sometimes, late at night when she thought they couldn't hear. But gradually, guilt gave way to determination. She became an advocate, speaking at community meetings about the warning signs they'd missed. Even their dad had stepped up in his way. Weekly phone calls became dinner visits. He was trying, however awkwardly, to be present. Last week, he'd helped Olivia change the oil in her beloved yellow Beetle, now affectionately nicknamed Phoenix, because, as Olivia said, "We both rose from the ashes." Nathan's phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. "Group study at my place? Dad made his famous chili." Nathan smiled, remembering how Marcus and his family had become their unofficial security detail those first few weeks, ensuring Olivia never walked to her car alone. "Hey, Liv," Nathan called. "Want to grab these cookies and head to Marcus's? His dad's cooking?" Olivia hesitated, her hands stilling on the cookie sheet. Group situations still made her nervous sometimes. But then she straightened her shoulders. That small, brave gesture that always made Nathan's heart ache with pride. "Yeah," she said, "just let me change." She headed for the stairs, then paused. "Nathan, remember that list I wrote? The reasons to disappear?" Nathan's throat tightened. "Yeah, I have a new list now. Reasons to stay. 1. This family, messy and imperfect as we are. 2. The truth, because secrets can't hurt me anymore. 3. Cookies," she grinned, gesturing at the cooling rack. 4. The future, because for the first time in forever, I actually want to see what happens next. "And 5? Nathan asked softly. Olivia's eyes met his, filled with a strength that had been forged in fire. 5. Because my little brother taught me that sometimes the scariest thing you can do is let someone save you. And the bravest thing you can do is let them love you after they know all your truths. She bounded up the stairs, leaving Nathan alone in the kitchen with cooling cookies and a heart so full it hurt. Through the window, he could see their mom's car pulling into the driveway, right on schedule. The porch light flickered on automatically. They'd finally fixed it last weekend. Everything looked so normal, so ordinary. But Nathan knew better now. He knew that behind every closed door could be a cry for help. Behind every smile could be a secret war. He knew that family meant fighting battles you couldn't see, and that love meant staying even when the truth hurt. Most importantly, he knew that some things would never be the same. And that was okay. Because different didn't mean broken. Sometimes it meant stronger, wiser, more real. Olivia came back downstairs wearing one of her old bright sweaters, the one with paint stains from her last art project. "Ready?" Nathan grabbed the cookies and his keys, watching his sister step into the fading sunlight. She tilted her face up, eyes closed, a peaceful expression he once thought he'd never see again. "Yeah," he said softly, "we're ready."